What is really going on, crypto savages? You are listening to the CoinSpice podcast with host C. Edward Kelso, editor-in-chief at CoinSpice.io, your home for spicy crypto things on the net.
My name is Vin Armani. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Cointext.
Hey, hello. This is Amaury Seche. I'm the lead developer for Bitcoin ADC, which is essentially the software that started Bitcoin Cash.
Hi, my name is Akane Yoko. I'm an organizer of Tokyo Bitcoin Cash meetup.
My name is Josh Thorpe.
Hey, everybody. This is Gabriel Cardona, creator of the Bitbox SDK and director of developer services at bitcoin.com.
Looking back on 2 years, looking back over 2 years, I think we had a lot of success and a lot of issue to tackle with BCH, but we've been we successfully forked, and we've been going for 2 years now. Whereas we've been against a lot of attacks from many different parties. We're probably the project in the space that have been attacked the most, and we're still here and we're still going. So this is extremely positive and talks highly of the resilience of the project. Now, where BCH is today, I think it is at a fork in the road, right? And this is where we need to act, and we need to know if we actually want to become more currency or if we're just be another shitcoin. And I'm afraid this is not very well understood by the community, but there is a large move in the space that is going on from various parties, right? So one of them is Facebook Libra, obviously, that is coming in, and this is a sign that you are a very big player, very serious with the means to make their vision happen, that are now interested into crypto and getting in. And you cannot compete with such player in an amateurish way. This is just not gonna work. And on the other hand, you have governments and legislators also coming here. So we've seen over the past 2 weeks or so a lot of action in various court case. You've seen various exchanges that have been under investigation. Bitfinex is probably the biggest one, but I think BitMEX is also under investigation, and Binance as well. And so not only you have big tech player coming in the space, but you also the legislator. Is changing its tune. Before it was, there's this little cryptocurrency word, and we're gonna mostly ignore it, but now they're getting in. And so the environment, the ecosystem in which we are evolving is rapidly changing. And this is gonna be a huge challenge, because on its own, BCH, I think, has a bit of a cultural problem where it doesn't consider infrastructure as very important, and this is gonna cause a problem to attract the right people that we want to have, that are highly professional and highly knowledgeable to solve the issue BCH is gonna encounter going forward in a way that is good and that can compete with this new space that we're entering in. And this is going to be a huge challenge for BCH, and yeah, pretty much. So what the future holds, it's difficult to say, because we are at the fork in the road. But hopefully, we're gonna take the right track and become more currency. I think this is doable. This is possible. We have a good roadmap that would allow that would allow the infrastructure to service world scale population with very high quality of services. I'm not working on the service themselves, but you have a ton of people working on wallets and payment processor and stuff like that. There is a recent announcement that have been made on CoinSpice by Hayden about distributing, I think, 100 point of sale to different merchant in Australia. So all of that is, extremely positive. And this is good to see. There are a lot of people doing a ton of work on that front. But we need to, get in a place where we can go head to head with those big players that are now in the space.
My name's Josh Thorpe. I've been in the BCH community for a really long time. And I figured now that it's the 2-year anniversary, it's time to kind of do a rehash of everything that's happened over the last 2 years, because a lot really has occurred. And I guess I can start with a little bit of my history, why I got into Bitcoin Cash, and why I'm still really bullish about the future of BCH and how it affects the markets and, peer-to-peer cash for the world. So I got into Bitcoin in about 2012. And my motivations were really around peer-to-peer cash for the world and having a censorship-resistant way to send any amount of money anywhere in the world for low fees to enable people that don't have financial services to be able to take part of the economy and to be able to transfer wealth to anyone in the world with very little friction. And I was really bullish on Bitcoin, and I really loved Bitcoin back in 2012. I had read the white paper back in 2009, and I got in a little bit later, but the direction kind of changed. And when BCH first came out in August of 2017, I looked at it as the same vision as what I got into Bitcoin in the first place. And Bitcoin Cash basically took a lot of the older Bitcoin community that cared about low fees and peer-to-peer transactions and was less interested in store value, and really thought that a means of exchange and being able to easily transact was what provided value, and that without that, store value really was very speculative. And what happened is, Bitcoin Cash was born, and there was a lot of innovation that had been stalled on Bitcoin at the time. And it was very difficult for developers to actually enact any changes because there was a lot of process to just get stuff into the Bitcoin core code base. And because of that, because of that friction, I think when Bitcoin Cash first came out, there was a lot of impetus in addressing some of the shortcomings and really trying to make sure we got back on track on the development front to enable the original vision. And in the beginning, it was a little rough, just to be honest, right? A lot of people weren't very happy that Bitcoin had forked and that there was a big split, and there was a lot of controversy and contention in the space and a lot of debate about what was the real Bitcoin. And honestly, I didn't want to have a part of that. The real Bitcoin is still BTC, in my opinion. And that's because it's a social consensus as to what Bitcoin is. And unfortunately, based off of the market characteristics, overall throughput volumes and all of that, the market still is using a lot of Bitcoin. But it wasn't the project that I wanted. And I always was a fan of, Bitcoin Cash is a new entity to reinvigorate the vision, the original vision, but it was a new project. And in being a new project, it required new branding. It needed to really reevaluate what we were doing and how we were going to get there, and being honest with the limitations of what we inherited from the Bitcoin core code base. And the ABC team released Bitcoin Cash and put out a roadmap that was very much aligned with my interests, trying to get to the point, not today, but eventually being able to support 50 transactions a day for billions of people. And that requires massive scale. And it also required us to really look at the things we needed to do to get there. But because the fork was new, there were things that needed to happen just to make sure that we protected the users of Bitcoin Cash. So that's why the new cash adder format was formed, so that Bitcoin Cash had unique addresses, so that people wouldn't mistakenly send Bitcoin Cash to a Bitcoin address or vice versa. And there was also the immediate need to increase the block size. So back in August of 2017, the block size was only increased to 8 megabytes, and then again in one of the hard forks to 32 megabytes, which gives us near PayPal scale for Bitcoin Cash, which honestly, with the current crypto usage, even if you took all the cryptocurrencies together and you merged all their transaction volume, you still aren't really doing the volume of PayPal. So I looked at that as very satisfactory for the current time frame. Now, in order for us to hit our mission and really get to supporting billions of users all over the world, there was a lot more that needed to be done. And there were issues with transaction malleability so that we could actually safely deploy layer 2 type of solutions and make it safer for users to use the chain. And there were some other little things that we really wanted to enable for developers to make it so that we could see a new set of amazing products built on Bitcoin Cash. And one of those minor changes that actually had dramatic impact was the increase of the data carrier size to 220 bytes. So that would be what is known as op return. And for people that are not super technical, what that means is you can store just a little bit more data in a transaction and pay a very low fee to store that data. But not tons of data. We're not talking about videos and movies and that kind of stuff and music. We're talking about enabling things that allowed for new tokens to be developed. So if you look at SLP tokens, we have tokens that are SPV verifiable, meaning that they work on mobile phones and mobile wallets. And these things all leverage, a lot of these new technologies leverage the larger op return. So in order for us to create SLP tokens, they leverage op return and other mechanics to allow us to have these native tokens. And we're starting to see a lot of people building token-based products on Bitcoin Cash now. Now, because it takes time to develop these things, it's really great to look at this, 2 years later. So 2 years later, well, we increased the data carrier size back in 2017. Did people use it? Well, they absolutely did. We have Memo.cash, we have Honest Cash, we have social networks built on top of Bitcoin Cash that allow for people to have a decentralized and censorship-resistant social network. We have the new token ecosystems with SLP tokens, with multiple wallets, both for mobile and desktop, that allow people to use these tokens. And we're seeing those tokens being used in a real way starting actually near today. So recently there was a stable coin that was released on Bitcoin Cash, and there are other projects like the Spice token, which is just fun, and appreciation token where people are tipping on Telegram and Twitter and other places. But people are actually using this technology and able to use that small change for dramatic impact. And if you look at the history, part of the reason that Ethereum was created was because of the small data carrier size on Bitcoin. And Vitalik couldn't get them to keep that at a value that would be good enough for him to implement smart contracts and other key technologies on Bitcoin. And therefore, he went and created Ethereum. Well, now what we're seeing is scripting coming back to Bitcoin Cash. We have multiple script tools to make it easier to write complex scripts for Bitcoin Cash now. And a lot of those tools just took some time to develop, plus a lot of tools to help debug those scripts, as many are not used to these stack-based languages. And you have tools like Meep that was created by Chris Pacia that allows us to easily debug these scripts, and multiple runtimes for them. Well, not runtimes, but actual languages to make it easier to create these scripts. And that could be Cash script or Spendin. So we also re-enabled a couple of opcodes, basically mathematical operators, to make the script language a little bit more complete and allow for more complex contracts on Bitcoin Cash. Now, these are not the same as an Ethereum smart contract, where that is kind of a main design decision for Ethereum. They are not quite as featureful as or feature rich as an Ethereum smart contract, but they do allow for a lot of powerful things.
My name is Vin Armani. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Cointext. So here we are coming into the 2-year anniversary of Bitcoin Cash. It's been a great community to work as a part of. It's interesting that there's this common misconception about the founding moments of Bitcoin Cash, and that, oh, this was all started by Roger Ver and all of this. It's actually, the truth of the matter is that for most of us, it took a couple of months at least for us to start dipping our toes into this particular fork. I don't think most of us wanted a fork in the first place. I had actually completely given up on Bitcoin. I got my first Bitcoin in 2012. I started developing in 2014. I fell in love with the network and my ability to dive deep into it in 2014. But then, as for so many people, when the network congestion started, the fees started to get high, I looked and said, wow, if there's this little adoption now and it already doesn't work, maybe Bitcoin just doesn't work. And I didn't mean it. I knew that it technically could work, but I did see that there were impediments that were happening in the community, and so much of Bitcoin is community. I mean, Bitcoin really itself is a community. It's a community of people who are agreeing to share a single ledger and who are agreeing to participate by a certain set of rules in order to change that ledger and to add value to it. And I saw, okay, this is not going to work. And like many people, I was exploring altcoins and I was exploring Ethereum and seeing maybe there's a solution here. And it was actually my business partner. I ignored it when it first happened. And it was actually my business partner a couple months after the fork who said to me, hey, man, he was big, always big on Bitcoin. And I was always saying, nah, man, it can't work. It can't work. The fees are too high. It's never going to get adoption. And he said, maybe you should look at this Bitcoin Cash fork and see. I think it's working again. Like I have this feeling like it's working again. I'm hearing little whispers. And so I fired up my old libraries that had been sitting dormant for years because I just abandoned them. And with a few lines of code change, there I was back to the old Bitcoin, the Bitcoin that I had fallen in love with. And I think that's true for so many people in this space. And it's almost like we had this hiatus, and now we're back to, let's say, where we were in 2015, and we're building from there. And it's just a wonderful group of people. I think some of the smartest and most ambitious people in the scene, a great community of people outside of the technical community as well, doing on the media side, on the evangelism side. Entrepreneurs are actually able to build on this thing. And so I am super pumped to be able to be a part of this community, and I can't wait to see what this next year brings.
Now, one of the opcodes that was new that was enabled on Bitcoin Cash was op-check datasig. Now, op-check datasig had a very interesting start, as part of the community was not excited about us adding op-check datasig. And luckily, that part of the community that was really having an issue with the technical direction has since left. And that would actually, I think, was a fantastic thing. I see a lot more unity in the development space for Bitcoin Cash. And around op-check datasig, I've seen a lot of really amazing products created already leveraging this technology. That could include local.bitcoin.com, where they have trustless escrow and trustless trading of Bitcoin Cash for fiat, kind of like local Bitcoins, but with no custodian and no trust required for the people that are trading. And it is a much better solution than what existed previously on the market. We've also seen things like a living will plugin that allows people to have a way to send their Bitcoin Cash to someone if they are no longer around. Whether that was, them passing away or whatever it is, it allowed for basically a living will for your cryptocurrency, and provided a safety net for families that are actually using this so that you can actually get that crypto to someone else. And most importantly, op-check datasig allows you to condition outputs in Bitcoin Cash. So that allows you to say, yes, I'm going to create this transaction, but to spend the outputs from this transaction, you need to meet additional criteria. And that additional criteria could be from an oracle that is reporting data on the chain, or it could limit what addresses those outputs can be sent to. So you can create an output that is guaranteed to only be able to be moved to your cold storage or to a specific set of addresses that you actually care about. And this has been really, really powerful. We're also starting to explore using check data sig with SLP tokens. This is something that Vin Armani and some of the other developers are really looking into. And we've already extended BIP70, which is the payment protocol that allows us to actually leverage SLP tokens as part of BIP70. These are all just happening now. And what's amazing is just the speed of development on BCH as the developers really want to build the tools that are necessary for this next financial revolution that we're experiencing right now, and are not wanting to, they are a little less conservative than other chains so that we can get this done.
You know, I resonated with Bitcoin incredibly strongly when I first heard about it all the way back in, 2012. It was like one of those religious experiences. A lot of people have said they've had a very similar experience. I know Roger says he did. I know Antonopoulos says he did, and I'm sure you probably did. And many, many people, like, when they first hear about it, they fall down this rabbit hole, and it just sort of changes their lives. For whatever reason, I was younger then. My tech skills were not as mature as they are now. I personally was not as mature as I am now. I didn't resonate or have a huge impact with BTC version 1. I started maturing and coming to my own in the Ethereum ecosystem, but Bitcoin Cash has just changed my life personally in such a radical way and taken me to an entirely new level and taken me around the world, like a lot. Introduced me to people. I work now personally with people who I used to, look up as like idols in this industry. My computer science heroes are now my coworkers. It's set me up to work on what I want to work on and to do what I want to do for the next phase of my career. Bitcoin Cash has changed my life in a radical way, and I'm a very loyal person. And when something or someone or some idea changes my life in a big way or teaches me something, I'm usually very loyal to it. And so I'm now incredibly loyal to Bitcoin Cash, and I feel a sense of ownership of it because of what it has done for me. And so, I'm dedicated to the cause, and I intend to have this be my sole focus for, the next chapter of my career.
Now, a couple of the other things are more technical that have happened inside of the different implementations. But another really cool technology that's being worked on is graphene. So graphene is something that allows for faster block propagation with less data. It allows for people to synchronize the block data much, much faster, and has been in the works for quite some time, with the white papers actually being available for several years, but no actual implementation that was created. Well, during this 2-year period, Graphene version 1 made it to Bitcoin Cash in the Bitcoin Unlimited node, and that progress is ongoing with the Graphene V2 implementation just starting to hit, that leverages our canonical transaction ordering, which again is a scalability thing that was done on the chain to make it easier to parallelize a lot of the processing that is necessary as we explore larger data sets. Now, we've also worked on quite a few other things. Originally, when Bitcoin Cash was created, it was just Bitcoin ABC and Bitcoin Unlimited, basically, that joined the fray, and Bitcoin Classic from Tom Zander as well. But Bitcoin Classic got end-of-lifed and was replaced by Flowy the Hub, an all-new node that offers APIs for developers and offers a lot of tooling to make it easier to make Bitcoin Cash applications. In that same vein, I work on a project called BCHD with Chris Pacia and several other developers, which is a Golang implementation of a full node and also incorporates a lot more bleeding-edge features. And the reason we're able to do that is, while staying in consensus, our main focus is for application developers. So we wanted to make sure that application developers building on Bitcoin Cash had the best possible APIs. And so we worked on a gRPC API and that is has auth, and we also offer a public gRPC API through BCHD, in addition to your standard JSON RPC hooks. But because our focus is on application developers and not necessarily so much on miners, it allows us to create, to work on certain things where we can play around a little bit more. It's a faster moving language and working in Go. It has a lower barrier to entry. And so we built a fast sync that allows you to just sync the live UTXO set, which allows you to bring up a full node in less than an hour. And we store those UTXO snapshots on IPFS, which no other node out there is doing. So this was a first to actually see a full implementation end-to-end in a shipping product of UTXO commitments. We also got to work on a few other items, and we added the neutrino spec from Lightning Labs. And what's nice about that is we were able to move fast and add these new BIPs, and these are BIPs that are not even complete on Bitcoin, and allows for better mobile wallets that do not require you to expose what addresses you are using in the wallet. It gives a higher level of privacy as you don't tell the nodes what addresses you care about. All you do is you download blocks that you care about, which gives you a much larger set so that the nodes don't know exactly what you're looking for. These wallets are in development right now. The specs are final for BIP 157 and 158, and those are implemented in BCHD with a dev build of the Neutrino wallet available for Android. Also, a command line wallet called BCH wallet that has full support for the Neutrino spec, as well as full support for just connecting to an arbitrary full node and managing your wallet from there. So that's been actually a lot of fun. In the latest Bitcoin Cash fundraise, there was some good funding brought to the BCHD project, and we're really excited to continue that work and really continue to innovate.
Hi, my name is Akane Yoko. I'm an organizer of Tokyo Bitcoin Cash meetups, and I'm also a community manager at Bitcoin.com. So I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2013. I used to organize events at this restaurant called the Pink Cow, which was the first restaurant to accept Bitcoin payments in Japan. And when Bitcoin Cash meetup started in December 2017, I started helping them organize the meetups, and I've been helping since then. So I was organizing events at this restaurant called the Pink Cow, which was the first business in Japan to accept Bitcoin payments. But since Bitcoin BTC sort of stopped working as cash, I found out about BCH, and since Tokyo Bitcoin Cash meetup started in December 2017, I decided to help co-organize the meetups, and now we're organizing weekly meetups. So like, I think it's important to actually use Bitcoin Cash for payments or tipping people or just like sending and receiving. We do meetups every week, and we have lots of people who have been involved in like crypto for a long time, but they have not used like Bitcoin before. And we see those people using Bitcoin Cash at like venues to pay for drinks or food, and they're often amazed, and you don't realize how it works and how useful it actually is until you actually use it. We do meetups at venues that accept Bitcoin Cash payments, which encourages members, which gives like an opportunity for members to use Bitcoin Cash as cash, and that's always I find it important. And well, I mean, people can ask questions about basic questions to advanced questions at meetups, and I don't know, you can be up to date about what's happening with Bitcoin Cash community, and people get connected and like getting like, you know, BCH related jobs all the time, and people buy and sell Bitcoin Cash at the meetups. People start working on the same project together. And it's actually a great place for example, like developers or people from different companies to get together, and they exchange information, exchange ideas, and they start working together on something. Or
so, you know, how do I feel sort of like looking back? What have we accomplished? I mean, we've accomplished a lot. You know, there was no guarantee that any of this was going to be successful or, you know, pop at all when it happened. If you remember when the fork happened, there was tons of ambiguity, and we've been attacked multiple times on multiple fronts. And, you know, Bitcoin Cash just suffers an endless onslaught of sort of like social media campaign sort of like information awareness, anti-campaigns against it, of just endless trash talking, when really it's just sort of like an open source project, right? We're pursuing an idea, but there's like this huge pushback on it, and it's because the idea of it is so radically powerful. You know, all we're doing is really pursuing this vision of this peer-to-peer electronic cash, and that idea is just so radical that it doesn't surprise me at all that it gets pushed back.
Another project I've worked a lot on is Cash Shuffle. So Cash Shuffle is a CoinJoin solution. CoinJoin's been around for a long time for Bitcoin, and the problem is that no one made it easy enough for a lay person to use. So a lot of the CoinJoin solutions required a hard-to-use wallet, or they required you to have a lot more technical knowledge. But no one had created a CoinJoin type of solution for privacy that was literally check a box and it just works. Well, with Cash Shuffle, we worked on that for 1.5 years. We started on it about, I'd say, 3 months after BCH forked. And we now have a full implementation for Electron Cash. It's used by thousands of people, and we've seen over 100,000 Bitcoin Cash shuffled through Cash Shuffle services. And what's great is that it's non-custodial, there's no risk, it's impossible to lose funds, it's safe, and it's easy for you to get better privacy guarantees with your money. We've also worked with the Bitcoin.com team to implement that in the Bitcoin.com wallet. We have alpha builds that have that working today, JavaScript libraries and Python libraries for Cash Shuffle, and detailed specs on exactly how it works. And the community has been amazing, helping with walkthrough videos and technology videos to highlight the benefits of Cash Shuffle. Now, we also were able to implement Schnorr signatures, although we only did part of the original, ideas for Schnorr. We basically allowed for a replacement of the standard ECDSA signatures with a Schnorr signature for regular transactions, not multi-sig transactions. However, the work for multi-sig transactions is happening right now and is expected to be delivered in November for the next major protocol upgrade. Now, there's also been quite a few outside the full node products that have gotten a lot of traction. One of those would be cash accounts. So cash accounts allow users to send Bitcoin Cash to names instead of ugly addresses. So you can send it to, Quest 102, and that's it. Not some crazy string, and makes it much easier for users to leverage Bitcoin Cash and send money back and forth with things they can tell another human being. And this is all done on chain and is completely trustless. So you don't have to query some, private API server or trust a third party. These are written to the chain. They can be validated by SPV wallets and mobile wallets. And we're starting to see those roll out throughout the ecosystem. They were implemented in Badger Wallet. And Badger Wallet is yet another major product that has hit Bitcoin Cash in the last 2 years, allowing for a mobile web experience, mobile wallet experience. It's a Chrome extension, a lot like MetaMask for Ethereum, but it allows you to store SLP tokens and Bitcoin Cash, and it also offers registration for cash accounts, and it leverages another technology called Cash ID, which allows you to do passwordless logins that are secure. Basically, you go to a website, you click login, and it forces you to sign a message with a known key, with a particular key. You sign that message, you give it to the service, and all of a sudden you're logged in. There's no password to type in, and it is far more secure and actually much easier to use. And those features are built into Badger Wallet, which is really, really amazing.
I believe that Bitcoin Cash is the most undervalued asset on the planet. And, you know, that's a huge statement to say. And there's a lot of people who are going to be like, what? How do you quantify that? And of course, I can't totally quantify it. It's more like I know how powerful the vision of Bitcoin is. The original vision of Bitcoin is outrageously huge, and it's not fulfilled in Ethereum, and it's not fulfilled in Libra. So we still have the opportunity to fulfill this vision of digital cash for the internet nation. And you know the way I like to say it is, you can't stop an idea whose time has arrived. You can only hope to be on the right side of history. Digital cash for the internet nation is an idea whose time has arrived. And so we can only hope to do everything that we can to empower that idea and to be on the right side of history. And I believe that Bitcoin Cash is on the right side of history. So therefore, I'm going to continue to throw all of my energy into this project.
I think meetups have a lot of benefits. One, obviously, being people being able to use Bitcoin Cash, like in real life. Like in Tokyo, we only do meetups at venues that accept Bitcoin Cash as payments. So it gives members an opportunity to actually use Bitcoin Cash to buy drinks and food and tip the waiters, waitresses. And it's good because like we have members who have been involved in crypto for a long time, but who have not used like crypto in real life. So when they use it, they're actually surprised to see how easy it is. And by actually using it, you learn much more about crypto. Another thing is we can support merchants, and it's very important because you can convince merchants to accept Bitcoin as Bitcoin Cash as payments, but you need to follow up and keep supporting them. Otherwise, they're going to forget how to use Bitcoin Cash, and they're going to lose motivation to keep accepting. So in Tokyo, we have actually like 50 venues that accept Bitcoin Cash, and well, some of them are not restaurants, but we go around about probably like 15 restaurants and bars regularly to do meetups, and we feel that's very important. And also it gives an opportunity for people to ask members like questions, and they can learn about new services or new technology, ask basic questions and get the latest news. And some members actually find like jobs during the meetups. And also people from different companies, for example, developers, often join the meetups, and they get together and they exchange opinions, ideas, and information, which I think is good because they can kind of collaborate to work together on different ideas and projects. And also, I often match people to who want to buy or who want to sell Bitcoin Cash. And it's well, there's our services like local.bitcoin.com, which you can sell and buy crypto online, peer-to-peer, with no KYC. But you can do this at meetups too. It's very easy because there are many people who want to buy or sell. So that's good. And also, I often use meetups as an excuse for merchants to accept Bitcoin Cash as payments. And I say like, okay, we're looking for a place to have a meetup with this many people. We do this every Wednesday, and we can come every 2 months or something. And you may think it's advantage as an organizer, but actually anybody can do this. If you can say there's a meetup going on in this area, and we want to bring those people to your venue. And you can just talk to the organizer of the meetup in your local area, and tell them to do a meetup there. And if you don't have a local meetup, you can always get some people together, even just 4 people, 5 people, and we can start doing little gatherings at the merchants.
Then there's been a lot of testing and scale testing to make sure that we can actually perform up to par for the block sizes that we advertise. And a lot of great work from developers like Jonathan Tuman that has done specifications to see exactly where our bottlenecks are inside of Bitcoin Cash so that we can focus our development on improving the overall throughput of BCH and making sure that BCH is going to be able to scale to mankind scale. And that's not, 1 million users. We're talking probably 5 to 10 billion users if this is ultimately successful. So really a lot of exciting technology has been worked on in the last 2 years, and especially in the last 6 months, I have to say that the development work has really picked up. The developer community is far more connected and far more focused on the things that we need to deliver. And what's great is that as I look at the development community in Bitcoin Cash, I see a lot of like-minded folks that work together to try to produce all of these technologies. So it's not just one team working on one thing and another team working on another, but there's a lot of overlap as teams want to help assist each other in building peer-to-peer cash for the future. And I've seen a lot of amazing collaboration between the Bitcoin Cash devs over the last 6 months as a portion of the community had broken off that I think actually stagnated the progress in a rather substantial way. And even Vitalik and some other people have commented about these types of things on Twitter.
But most importantly, we've just got the vision back on track. The idea of Bitcoin is peer-to-peer electronic cash. I like to say digital cash for the internet nation, because that really is what it is. We're living in a unique time in history, and the entire world is wiring up together and becoming one, and we're moving sort of beyond the state. We're moving into something which is it's above and beyond the state. It's like a superset of the state. It's like this internet nation where we're all wired above and beyond our borders. And having this peer-to-peer electronic cash, I always say that the story of the singularity is the story of the individual becoming asymmetrically empowered against the state. And, digital cash is one of the best examples of that, because money is so critical to the human condition. So being able to take that out of because money is so critical to the human condition, being able to take that out of the hands of central bankers and the federal government and have it be backed by computer science and mathematics instead of the power of the state is radically transformative, and it's going to change the human condition. So, I think that's the most important thing that we've accomplished over the last 2 years, is that we've simply got Bitcoin back onto the vision of being digital cash for the internet nation.
Another thing is that there's a lot of still current developments in Bitcoin Cash that are really, really promising right now as we're approaching our 2-year anniversary. One is reusable addresses, being able to send someone a single address and they can use that address, but it doesn't all end up in the same place on chain and doesn't hurt your privacy to reuse that type of address. And that, in combination with cash accounts, means that I can send someone a cash account handle, like Quest 102 or whatever, and they can send as many payments to that handle as they want, and each of them will end up on a different on-chain address, and you'll still be able to preserve your privacy, and you won't be able to just go to one address on a block explorer and see all of those transactions. This is really going to be a game changer, and the work that's happened there is getting very close to being complete, and the spec is nearly finalized, and I see that really hitting Bitcoin Cash wallets hopefully within the next few months, which will be absolutely amazing. There have also been a lot of discussions about improving Zeroconf security. Now, Bitcoin Cash already removed RBF, or replaced by fee, which actually made it easier to double spend transactions on the Bitcoin network. But that wasn't enough. So while in most use cases, standard Zeroconf is good enough, like if I'm paying my friend, if you don't trust the parties involved at all and you don't know them, there is a slight risk of double spends, although I would argue less than the risk of chargebacks on credit cards or the existing financial system. And we want to do better. We want to make sure that Zeroconf is nearly 100% reliable. And that way, you don't have to wait for confirmations, not like BCH users really do, as Zeroconf does work very well today, but we want to make sure it's bulletproof. And being able to do that requires a longer discussion. And we had a wonderful conference about Zeroconf security and instant transactions in Italy, where we talked about things like double spend proofs and basically being able to relay when you see a double spend, but not relaying the transaction that the double spend actually is, and being able to look at whether or not someone's trying to defraud you on the network. There have also been work on Zeroconf security deposits, where you can send a transaction to someone, and if you double spend that transaction, there is a bounty, effectively, that the person could get to if it was ever double spent. And this is actually a really interesting mechanic, as the person that's paying for a product would be basically losing out on a certain amount of funds if they were attempting to defraud the merchant. Now, while this is a slick trick, I don't think that's the ideal way to handle Zeroconf. And that's why we're still looking at other options like Avalanche, but not limited to Avalanche. There's also a proposal for weak blocks and a couple of other proposals that will be shared, hopefully with the community soon, that address these Zeroconf use cases. And our goal is to make sure that when you send a transaction, within 2 seconds, you know that it's going to land in a block. And if we can get to that world where it's basically 100% that we're going to see something land in a block, then the idea that confirmations are required or needed really goes away for the brick and mortar merchants out there, which is really, really exciting. By our 3rd year anniversary, that things like reusable addresses are done. That would, to me, would be the accomplishment at our 3rd year anniversary. If we have a reusable address spec that is merged in with cash accounts, and we have Bitcoin Cash wallets integrate that technology, that will take us really above and beyond many of the other blockchains that we've seen. Because all of a sudden, you can bookmark your contacts. All of a sudden, when I transfer value with you, I can just go ahead and bookmark you and add you to my contact in my phone, and be able to send you payments whenever I want without disturbing the privacy and without having a single address on the blockchain where you can see all of the funds that moved. This is really revolutionary. And between reusable addresses and Cash Shuffle and the neutrino technology that the BCHD team has been working on and is currently being implemented in ABC, I really think that's the set of privacy that is necessary for global scale, and that is a giant differentiator between us and other blockchains. For instance, in Ethereum, if you're using ENS, all of a sudden you have a single address that's tied to your ENS handle. And yeah, you can bookmark that, but say Dave sends you a payment and Steve sends you a payment, well, they can see each other's payments, which is a major problem, as you don't want to really share what payments you got from other people, and it's impossible to protect against that with systems like ENS. Whereas cash accounts with reusable addresses on Bitcoin Cash would still give you that privacy while also giving you the convenience of being able to actually save contacts, be able to send stuff even easier without asking for a new address.
I'm hoping to get more normal people involved. I've been listening to what my friends, especially female friends, and my colleagues from my non-crypto job, like talk about Bitcoin, ask about Bitcoin. And I think it's really important to hear them, because if they cannot understand it, or if they think it's difficult to use crypto or certain crypto services, it's not for mass adoption. I'm often around people who are like really involved in crypto. So it's very different when I hear my friends or colleagues when they talk about Bitcoin, because they have very, very basic questions about Bitcoin. And lots of people seem to feel that they don't know much about Bitcoin, therefore they should not get involved. I think our job is to be able to introduce Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash to them as something that's easy to understand and easy to use, and that they don't have to be knowledgeable, or they don't have to be techie, or to be able to use it. It's like using a car. You don't have to know how it works, but as long as you can use it, that's good. So that's one of my goals for the future.
You know, we've kicked off this Tokenian explosion, which, you know, I'm a huge advocate of. You know, there's been $28 billion in token sales on Ethereum over the last 4 years, and we feel like something similar could happen in the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem. We've done things like Cash Shuffle, where we're getting our privacy into Bitcoin Cash. You know, privacy is a basic human right, so we're getting it set up where Bitcoin Cash can have optional privacy coins, where it's baked into the protocol, are ultimately going to get pushback from governments because they're so radically disruptive. You know, the blockchain and peer-to-peer cash, this stuff is also radically disruptive. It's easy to sometimes get a little bit jaded to it, or maybe forget how radical it all is because we work in it day in and out. But you really got to step back and remember how radically transformative and disruptive the stuff we're talking about is. And nothing has changed. Even though we're 10 years into the blockchain revolution, nothing has changed. And you see it with Libra, right? You see it with literally the US government issuing a statement and doing congressional and Senate hearings saying, like, this is like a whole entirely new type of thing. This is a currency that's not bound by any single nation. And so, you know, we get it. The time has arrived for this idea.